Haven't Seen It Mini with Tim Sestito and Tommy Devaney. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where we are covering a new released movie in a miniature episode, even though we're normally talking about older movies. I am joined today with my co-host, Tommy Tevaney. Tommy, this was won our Twitter poll, like by a wide margin, by the way.
Yeah, so we put up a Twitter poll that was like, what movie would you want us to cover in August? New movie. And the choices were this, Freakier Friday, or Nobody 2. And I think all but one person voted for Weapons. I think one person voted for
Voted for
Freakier
Freaky
Friday,
Friday too. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
which it worked out because we would not have had shit to talk about Freakier Friday. Like,
whoa,
yes,
whoa, whoa, whoa. I have a soft spot for the OG Freaky Friday in my heart. Do I think it's going to be similar to Happy Gilmore 2? Yeah, quality wise, I sure do. But I hope it's just a fun time, like that's all I can hope for.
it shockingly has decently critic reviews. It has a 73% in Rotten Tomatoes, the Freakier Friday, which I did
Yeah.
not see coming.
Yeah, that's higher. I mean, you never know. They put some. I imagine it's going to be a very surface level movie, but it'll probably hit all the right beats about it.
Mhm.
Think about reconnecting with family, connecting with your daughters, right? Does the whole
Yeah.
nine. If I had to guess what they do in this one, it'll be they swap places with they it happens again.
Yeah.
Um, Somehow, and something to do with her daughter, with Lindsay Lohan's daughters. I'm assuming. I have no idea. I like
Yeah.
watched the trailer once at a movie theater. But we are not covering Freakier Friday. We are going to be covering Weapons, the new Zach Kreger film that just released this past Friday. It is a mystery horror film. I think I would call it more. There's a mystery element to it. I call it probably more of a thriller horror film. Written, co-produced, and directed by Zach Kreger, starring Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, Austin Abrams, Carrie Christopher, Benedict Wong, and Amy Madigan. The plot follows the seemingly inexplicable case of 17 children from the same classroom who mysteriously run away on the same night, having been apparently abducted by an unseen force. This movie, just on its opening weekend, has grossed over $71 million, 71.8 million on a budget of 38 million. So this is a smash hit so far, easily going to clear 100 million uh, worldwide, probably will clear 100 million domestic. I feel like the secret with movies and their success is word of mouth more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, once you get people to saying like, "Oh, this is great, you gotta go see it." Like that's what happened with Sinners earlier this year, where it had so much legs because like everyone was talking about it. I mean, you'd also gauge like at like your workplace, like with me, like what movies people are talking about. And
Yeah.
sometimes we cover movies for like a new release where no one gives a shit or whatever. But like Sinners is one that was like that. And I imagine Weapons would be like one like that too. Like, oh shit, did you see Weapons?
Yeah, I agree. I think with like I think like word of mouth is now like the strongest marketing a movie can get, and it kind of speaks to the quality of film and like the differences you can do. Like not to say that this was like totally shocking and like that, but it was structured uh non-linearly in a non-linear fashion, and it takes a lot of twists and turns throughout it, and it's easy to follow, which I feel like one is really really nice because it just title cards, character names, you get it, their perspective, and we get little more pictures of the story until it all kind of comes together towards the end when we follow one specific character's perspective that kind of carries us through the way home till the end of the film. Um, so for you, Tommy, you are our resident horror expert. What stood out to you in this film that made it kind of jump off the screen?
So for once, Zach Kreger, he is an incredible director. And Barbarian, his first feature, was also like fantastic. So going into this, I think that there's just so many good shots, so much good cinematography, so much creepiness of just like the simple image of seeing kids run away with like the angel arms kind of thing, like almost airplane arms type thing. Just that one image, and like when you see it go through security cameras and stuff like that, and just that simple imagery is just so haunting.
I thought it was well blocked. I didn't think the
Mhm.
cinematography was that great. Like go leaning more into that naturalistic style. Like later when we get into spoilers, this is the spoiler-free part of the podcast. I want to have a discussion about Sinners and Weapons, kind of like the two breakaway hits that are non franchises, non giant IPs, not Superman, not
It
Marvel.
it is shocking. We've had like a bunch of like a couple like original movies, non
And
IP, none
and
whatsoever, and
and
they're great
all like
hits.
and all like horror light, I would call it, right? Like not like a true horror film and it's but like the horror's there and it hits you in the face and it's marketed with the horror
Yeah.
element to it, but
Well,
it's horror light, it's not, I wouldn't call it like a true horror film. Like it's not Texas
well,
Chainsaw Massacre.
yeah. It's not like unrelenting constantly. There is like moments of humor, moments of like just like character moments and stuff like that. And it really focuses just on like the town itself. In terms of influences, Zach Regger said that Magnolia was a huge influence. And Pulp Fiction I could definitely see being an influence here
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I thought I actually had that clip queued to play, but we could just talk about it now.
mm,
Where he talks about his influences, and he said like he didn't even realize Pulp Fiction until people started saying like, "Hey, there's a lot of Pulp Fiction in this," and I think that just has more to do with like the non-linearity of it. But he even said in Kreger said in his interview that um, this was a like Pulp Fiction was such a big influence on him. Like when it came out, it changed the way he viewed movies and the way he saw the world. Like it's probably an influence on everything he's ever done. So it's kind of that kind of movie to him. But um yeah, I think it's an interesting trend in Hollywood right now that like these, modestly budgeted independent horror film, like, not independent, but non-IP driven things are kind of the two like at least bigger profit margins of movies, and are doing really well. And I
mm,
imagine we're going to start to see more of that. And I think a big factor of that is that $40 million for these studios, they can leave the set alone, right? Like, okay, horror always has a built-in audience to begin with,
mm.
so just at least recouping the production budget before marketing, they can probably get that back.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing that like horror seems to be the one like low budget or mid budget genre that consistently plays in theaters because it just prints money. You could do a horror feature like for $5 million and it could
You could
be
do it from
amazing, incredible,
you could do it
even
for
cheaper.
you could do it for a million probably,
Yeah.
if you so needed to.
And with like this movie, for example, 38 million budget and already made 71.8 million worldwide, I think it probably already like made money at this point. I have to imagine. I can't imagine marketing was that
No,
expensive.
no, it'll take till next week because marketing is usually somewhere between half and the full budget of the movie. But you also got to remember the theaters are taking half of the
Yeah.
the
But
box.
regardless, it's almost there.
It's
And
yeah,
it
it'll be profitable. If it's not, it'll be profitable before next weekend probably.
Yeah.
And it's just getting like universal praise, which feels rare. I think people will enjoy Weapons more than like a general audience will enjoy Weapons more than they enjoyed Sinners, even though I think Sinners had a little bit more to say and was more stylistic in its direction. Like, not that
Mhm.
the direction was poor in this, but the cinematography of Sinners like stood out to me in a way that it just Weapons kind of felt like any other. It went with the naturalistic approach. It kind of felt like anything else that kind of comes out.
I think
Um,
that Kreger's strong suit though is also just like the use of like darkness and shadows and the
yeah,
negative space
definitely.
and stuff like that. Like there's so many scenes, we're still in non-spoiler sports, but like where like you see something in the corner of your eye, you're like, what the fuck is that? Or you see something emerging from the shadows in a way that like really gets you unsettled and crawls up underneath your skin. And those horror moments play and they really hit. And this is really fun to see if a packed crowd because like we had people in my screen just like scream like, oh fuck, oh shit. Constantly when like you see something.
Yeah, I went to a 12 o'clock screening, so it was pretty tame in there, like I went to a noon,
Mhm.
not a midnight showing of it. I went to a noon showing of it, so it was a little
I'm,
a
I mean,
little
mine
cool.
was 2 p.m., so still like, but it's still kind of rowdy.
No, that's good. No, that's good. And people seem to be taking to it. Performances wise, like I thought the performances were excellent. I thought the main kid that we follow in this,
Carrie Christopher,
yeah,
Alex.
yeah, I thought he was pretty solid as a kid actor. Um, I feel like they didn't ask him to do a lot, but it was almost like it was by design the way they wrote the character, where it was kind of like this stunned disbelief more than like overly expressive, overly emotive performance, but that works. Like
Mhm.
sometimes kid actors can take you out of the movie, and I'll say his part in the movie carries the mother load. It carries us through till the home stretch, right? So he
Mhm.
needed to work, and I thought he did very well. Um, Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, really good. I really enjoyed Austin Abrams as the homeless drug addict that
He
shows
had
up
like
there.
some of the best like humor in this movie.
Yeah, some of
And
the most levity in the movie for sure.
yeah, and he was a guy who like I haven't really been familiar with him. He apparently was on The Walking Dead for a bit. I don't that's probably after I got out of The Walking Dead. And he was in shows like This Is Us and like Euphoria, which to be honest are shows I haven't really watched whatsoever. So, he seemed like a revelation for us. And apparently he's going to be the star of Zach Cregger's next movie, which is going to be a Resident Evil adaptation. And I'm
Interesting.
excited to see that because
Yeah, so he's going to be Leon then, I'd have to imagine.
well, no, apparently Zach Cregger said that he's not going to have any of the characters from the games in this. It's going to be like an original take within that universe. And he's like a guy who's like, I played those games so much. And, this is Zach Cregger's like, I play those games so much. And the best part of those games is when you're in a hallway, walking down the hallway, it's completely dark. You know, something fucked up's going to happen. And I only have one shotgun shell. What the fuck am I going to do if something bad happens here? So, with that mindset, it could be cool.
It is interesting to me though that some of like the bigger directors that have kind of come out in recent years, like I would after Weapons, I would call Zach Cregger one of them. Um,
Mhm.
Ryan Coogler to just I guess just to the Sinners extent, but think Jordan Poole, Ari Aster, like
Deal.
they're or Jordan Peele. I
Not the shitty player for the was he Wizards?
yeah, I don't even know where that came from. I'm not even a basketball head here, but all these directors are making a name for themselves using horror as the stepping block stool. Like, wasn't it that what was the story with Jordan Peele where they were bidding for this script, like him and his production company, and they didn't get it, and he fire his entire staff?
He fired his agents, I think, for it
He
because
fired it,
he
yeah. Like they were, that's how annoyed he was that they did not get this project, which tells me that this was a screenplay first picture, and you can feel it in that. Uh,
Mhm. And also it just speaks to like how powerful Zach Cregger's real first movie Barbarian was because that like, came out like out of nowhere. Whereas one of those things were like I remember at the time like 3 years ago when that came out, people were saying like, "Oh, the guy from West Kids You Know like directed a really great horror movie." And I was like, "What? All right, I need to see this." And it was great, and people loved it so much that when he came out of Weapons, now he's bigger budget. I mean, he leveled up from like a $4 million budget to like this mid budget, and his biggest star in Barbarian was Justin Long, who
it
isn't
makes it
exactly a lister.
it makes a cameo. But Justin Long is the epitome of he's more than a that guy, but he's kind of a that guy, He's like, oh,
Yeah,
you probably knew his name in the mid 2000s, but you probably have forgotten it by now.
exactly. So like he went from like that as his lead to like Josh Brolin and Julia Gardner, who are both like red hot still
And
at
Pedro
this point.
Pascal was supposed to play the Josh Brolin part, and dropped out to do Eddington. Uh,
So I real quick, I'll say this. I think it's works for the movie's favor that Pedro Pascal's not in this.
I
Even take away Pedro Pascal's like star power or anything and all the projects he's
I
been in.
Teague and stuff.
I couldn't see him be nearly as well in this role as Josh Brolin is. I think that
I I I think it would have been a different performance, and I
mm,
think Pedro Pascal is a talented enough actor that it would have been good. Like having seen enough of his like spanning of like different roles that he's able to do, like I think he can kind of do anything.
I
Um,
I guess like the closest comp would be like Joel from The Last of Us for Pedro,
Yeah.
but there's still just like a different like style and vibe to it that like I don't think would have played as well.
I think Pedro Pascal might have fit the age of the dad a little better than Josh Brolin because Josh Brolin is like has like a kid in the third grade and he himself is 57 years old now.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
so
it happens.
it happens, but
Al Pacino had a kid at 80.
you know what? True. I guess movie star kids don't have to make sense, but Pascal being a little bit younger, I think might have played to his benefit, like just like the age wise of it being like, okay, yeah, that
Yeah. Um,
makes a little
but
more sense. But
in general, this movie though,
I think Pascal being in this right after Fantastic Four would have made people go, oh God,
like
really? Again? This is
they're already
there's nothing this guy is in?
yeah, it already is starting to happen. To this point where like, Pedro Pascal had like 3 or 4 big projects, at least in the last like 2 or 3 months, and people are like, all right, I'm sick of him, I'm done.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect. But this movie in general just has like a great like bench of a cast. We'll talk more about Amy Madigan later on because we can't really discuss her without getting into spoiler territory. But great to see her again. I
She
haven't seen her
plays
in anything
she
in
plays
forever.
the supposed Aunt Gladys who shows up in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
But then you have like Toby Huss coming up. You have Justin Long on the bench, Jean Diane Raphael.
Sarah Paxton, just short little thing. It's funny that Sarah Paxton and Justin Long were in this movie for maybe a minute. But I think sometimes for these actors, it just speaks to the quality of the screenplay, like where they go out and maybe they're reading for the Ehrenreich part, the cop Paul Morgan, and then it's like, okay, well, you didn't get that, but we can give you this little part if you want to show up. And they're just like, you know what? It's better than one, I'm working. Two, it's better. Like, I'd rather be a part of something this good. Like that tells me how, like this, not having actually read the screenplay, because screenplays can play all the time. And just because you have a good screenplay does not necessarily mean you'll have a great movie, and vice versa. Sometimes you don't have a great screenplay and it gets rewritten on the spot and you make it work.
Mhm.
That they're getting like these kind of names to just be in this movie. So that tells me, the writing in this is really, really strong.
Mhm.
Um, or another way of telling me, the movie also tells me that, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's what did you think of the narrator? Who's Scarlett Cher? She just kind of she's there at the beginning and she's there at the very end.
I liked it because it gave it like a spooky campfire tale kind of type of vibe to this. And just how it opens up, where it's like, this is a real story that happened in my school and in my town and everything like that. And it really sets you in that moment. And it feels creepy and unnerving though, too, like the way it's like drilled out. So I love the narration in this because, and it wasn't overused. It was, like I said, just in the beginning, just in the end. So in a way, it just really helped like kind of table set the vibe for this movie.
Also, before we get into spoilers, one last person. One, it was nice to see Benedict Wong not show up in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It's just nice to see him. And then Alden Ehrenreich. Can I just commend my cap to that guy for surviving Solo?
Yeah.
Like
Seriously.
that could have tanked. That could have ruined his career. And
You
then
could say for a bit that like he
oh,
like didn't
he was
like
in movie jail for sure. He
yeah,
was
because like
100% was in movie jail.
so basically it was like 2018 was Solo, and then he wasn't in another movie until 2023 when he was in Fair Play,
Oppenheimer
which
and
in
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer and Cocaine Bear. He was a big part in Cocaine Bear, I
That's
remember,
right.
which
That's right. Yeah, I did see Cocaine Bear. I just don't. It was Cocaine Bear. It was the
it
title.
was what it was. Yeah.
It was what the title implies it was.
I didn't have high hopes. It developed a bear on cocaine. I was satisfied.
Yeah, that's all you need to make Tommy happy is a bear on cocaine. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's just like emerging and just getting himself these like strong roles, like even if they're not the main lead or whatever, and just delivering really strong performances. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him because like I also my hot takes. I thought he was fine. Like I thought he was fine. Like he kind of did his own thing with Han Solo in that movie. Like he didn't try to just be Harrison Ford, which is like the dumbest thing you could try to be because no one can be him. And like it's not his fault the movie sucked. Well, it
Yeah.
was fine, but it sucked, you know. Um,
Mhm.
it's not his fault that this Chris Miller and Phil Lord wrote in the screenplay like how we got to figure out how Han Solo got his last name.
Yeah. It's the dumb prequel shit where it's like,
It's just
I
like
don't need to know everything.
I don't need to know how he got his last name. I don't need him to be like Chewbacca, that's too long. I'm gonna call you Chewie. And they said that in camera. Like they uttered those lines and then it made
Yeah.
the final cut of the movie. They uttered those words and then it was on the screen.
Yeah.
Still
What a
probably
movie.
still probably the best sequel movie that Star Wars has, which not saying a lot. Not saying a
Yeah.
lot, but okay. Spoilers times. I'm gonna play the TV spot of this, and if you keep listening and you haven't seen it, don't say you weren't warned because you were warned.
17 kids woke up, got out of bed, walked into the dark, and never came back. This is a true story.
I want to know what happened in her classroom.
Where are our children?
Weapons. Rated R. Focus Dave.
It's funny watching that and hearing that TV spot because it basically just puts all like the horror parts in there essentially in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It did have like all the like big set pieces where it's just like this happens, this happens, this happens. So to start off, I am glad that this movie didn't feel the need to touch on like almost every parent that lost their kid and really only just focused on Josh Brolin. I mean,
Yeah,
the only parents you see briefly are like um Justin Long and Sarah Paxton, but even then, that's like a one scene, 5 minutes thing. Because that would have been exhausted if it just went like straight up. Okay, so this is what happened to this person. Instead, it was clever having like a character like Austin Abrams in there
he,
who had nothing to do with the movie, the overall plot at first. He was just a guy who stumbled onto this.
he was just a guy trying to make his way in the world by being a burglar and
Meth
going into
addict, yeah.
places and stealing shit. Um, yeah, it makes sense. Like, just put it onto one character. Like, as we said, like Justin Long, Sarah Paxton, they are in the movie for a hot minute, but they're not relevant to the plot or any. They just kind of provide more plotting for the movie when Josh Brolin and uh, Justine's character, they merge together and they start actually working together once they realize that they're actually like that this teacher did not do anything to these kids.
It is funny that it takes like Josh Brolin to like have him fight off Benedict Wong to realize that Julia Gardner is
That
like,
was one of the scarier moments when Benedict Wong, like, just like he's confronting her at the gas station and she's just like, whoa, like the sound just started to pick up. You just kind of like hear the muffled footsteps and she's just like, whoa, whoa. And he just kind of comes out of nowhere and we see a
mhm.
little bit of the altercation and then cut,
And
right?
yeah, I think that the way the narrative structure worked out was like amazing. Because it also like made the movie feel really well paced in a way where like each chapter ended on like a crazy like moment or something that were like, oh
Yeah,
God.
and it's funny because we get introduced into the world from the Julia Garner perspective, the who played Justine, the teacher, and that's where it's a little bit slow-ish, just like right off the get-go. It's a little bit slow where she's at the PTA meeting getting yelled at, has to get escorted out. She hooks up with her ex, the cop Paul, played by Alden Ehrenreich, right? And she's like stalking the kid Alex. And
Hmm.
then it picks up right when she stalks up onto that house and sees newspapers all over the windows, sneaks into the backyard, looks through the newspaper, just there's just a little bit of a look and just sees the parents lying there dead on the couch, like sitting up straight, but just completely zombified.
Hmm.
And then her final piece of her story is her sitting in her car drinking. She passes out. and all we just see a pair of scissors cut off a strand of her hair, and we go forward.
That I think personally was like the scariest moment in this whole movie because just seeing like, but obviously you didn't know it was the mom. You just saw a person
Well,
walk out.
you could tell it was the mom just because of the blonde hair.
But regardless, it was still like really creepy just the way it was because it was like very like shrouded and like and she just looked like open mouth, crazy. It was like, what the hell is this? People in my screening were like screaming at this point, like, oh my fucking God. And it was just so unnerving because all of a sudden Kreger just shot it like perfectly well, where you didn't like see her going inside the car. You just hear it happen.
Yeah,
Instead, you're like, oh my God. Like, here we go.
here we
So,
go.
and when that happens, like you think for a second, okay, why did she only get her hair cut? You thought like she was gonna get like her throat slit right
Yeah,
there, and that's what
you
you
thought
get.
this was the end of this character,
Yeah.
and that's not the case. And then it adds to that mystery element, that thriller element to the movie as we go forward, and then we're thrown on Roland's perspective, Archer, the dad, and I loved how they introduced him. You know, his wife is just sick of his shit. Like, yeah, she's upset her son is missing too, but he's like lying in the bed, just like in his son's bed with the Batman sheets, just like huddled over there. She just like the only time we see his wife, she opens the door and just goes, "I'm going to work," and that's all you need to know. We see him work for 1 minute, and he's just making all these mistakes. Right? He's not focused on this. He's just obsessed with finding his son, as you know, a father should be. Right? Where it just nothing makes sense. Like, why did he just run out at 2:17 in the morning?
Mhm.
Why did he run out? And he goes and harasses Sarah Paxton to watch the camera footage of them running. She's like, no. Then he waits for Justin Long to show up, and he's just like, can I watch this? Yeah.
Just I
And
was like,
then
yeah, sure. He's like, yeah,
he's
just log. You have no backbone. I can get it.
taking a map though, because it's on the opposite side of the town from where he is. So let's see what directions he's running in. And he's drawing this blueprint of a map here.
Mm.
And then we get Paul's perspective. We switch over to him with the cop who mostly it was interesting how he was introduced with Justine there. I feel
Mm.
like it didn't really add anything to the movie, other than like, oh, these characters knew each other.
Mm.
But like we see their full interaction kind of in Justine's story. But then when Alden rocks into the bar, we just cut to them having sex at the house, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
you've seen this part already. Like, we'll give you one new piece of information, and we'll keep moving forward from
Yeah,
there.
it was interesting in the aspect like there were some times where it crossed over where like you saw like things from different people's perspectives, how like they just immediately cut through it. Like the one part was like for example with Alden Ehrenreich Paul's moment, and then it cuts to Austin Abrams James's moment of the same chase, and then immediately just cuts through like we don't need to see the chase again. We're just gonna cut through right through it,
We're gonna
and
cut.
it would have been so bogged down if it would just
Yeah,
decided to show all of it from every perspective. It's like we don't need that.
you can just start with the end of that chase being like, all right, I'm never gonna see you again. You're never gonna see me again. We're gonna go our separate ways because uh, Paul, clocks this kid with the camera on, and you know, that's a no-no in Copland. You can't just assault somebody, even though he was stabbed by a needle that was assumedly full of drugs.
Mm.
But then we see him go break into the house, and the parents just sitting there as he's just ransacking silverware and like DVDs.
I love that he's like clocks that there's Willow in there. He's like, oh shit, Willow.
Yeah, yeah, that was a funny moment. Um,
But again, it adds to the mystery because like you don't really know what's happening with the kids. I think the marketing in this movie was fantastic because a lot of the marketing just focused on like the initial marketing was just a quick like clip of like kids running through like in the middle of the night with like their arms out like that. And it was like, what the hell is this? So like really like when you get in this movie, you're thinking that all the time. And then the fact that it's Brendan James, this random junkie character who at first you're like, what does he have to do with the story? Then
yeah,
he sees the house, he goes through and like doesn't die initially inside the house the first time
no,
is
no,
that was also a good little like twist to it.
and he
And
falls
just
down the stairs and he finds the kids, and it's like, okay, so we know where the kids are. They're in this basement. Like we understand where the central location of this movie is going to be, right? It's here at this house, and we get to see the other characters kind of discover that
mm,
through there. But he was just very funny.
I
where
love the one scene of him like he's on the phone with like I don't know his sister or something like that, and he's trying every single car they passes by to see if the doors are open. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have a job soon. Don't worry about it." And it was just like a great little like breather moment. I think that's Zach Kreger. Tim, have you really watched Wise Kids? You know that much back in the day?
I watched some clips. I remember watching Miss March and thinking it was very funny. But there was the one reference in that to the hot dog sketch, which was a very famous Whitest Kid You Know sketch,
Yeah,
um, where we cut to Benedict Wong, Marcus Miller's character, and we just see seven hot dogs on a tray. And in that skit, there's reference to seven hot dogs. It's just a
yeah.
nice little homage to the way, to
Mhm.
his past there, to his friend Trevor Moore, who sadly passed away and was
Yeah, he said that a
ostracized
lot of this.
and was ostracized to his from Hollywood for speaking some truths about the industry that they prefer remain unspoken.
Yeah, so apparently Zach Kreger said in an interview recently that the genesis of this movie was like when Trevor died. Trevor basically like died like he was drunk and like fell off like a balcony, and it was really shocking. He was only 41 years old, and this movie was really just like Kreger just sitting down and writing through the grief, and just he didn't know where the movie was going. Like he didn't go to see through it, but then it really just like started spiraling through there where like the way he wrote like pretty much was like he didn't know where the story was going. He's thinking, how would I see this as a filmmaker or as a person? He didn't want to do like the conventional thing.
Yeah.
So
And
I think
there's an article on Gizmodo, which I think is, on all those kind of websites or whatever, interview with Zach Kreger talking about the ending of it and more of when we go into Alex's perspective, the kids, where he said it was written in to help with cope with the loss of Trevor, but his personal connections to the material go even beyond that. Um, uh, when we get to his perspective, we learn that Aunt Gladys, who's played by Amy Madigan, who best performance in the movie by far,
easily. So
and
but yeah, we'll touch it later. Yeah.
but he's once the parents are possessed by this magic, Alex has to cook, clean, and feed his parents with using chicken noodle soup, just raw dogging them chicken noodle soup,
Yeah.
which is brutal. Um, but he said, and it's all a way to make sure that they keep up the appearance of something normal. This was more a diary entry about me, Krager said about the scenario. The last chapter of this movie is straight up autobiographical. That was my childhood. You live with an alcoholic parent, and there's this inversion of the dynamic. The child can become the caregiver. Of course, in Weapons, Alex's parents aren't alcoholics. Tried to make that parallel a little less obvious. It's meant to evoke the same feeling. This foreign substance comes in and it changes everyone's behavior. The house becomes a scary place. You can go to school and act like everything's cool, and then you come home and you hide from a zombie parent. That felt so real to me. So it was very interesting, like having this, adding this extra personal layer to it there, which
Mhm.
I think is what makes this that last act, because it's kind of a three-act structure movie, but it's not, just because of the way it's like edited and paced. It doesn't really play that way because we're just jumping around
Mhm.
from different perspectives so much. But I would say like it's a longer third act, and Alex's story really is the final act of the movie, right? The last 30 minutes of it,
Mhm.
or whatever. Um, we're introduced to Aunt Gladys, the supposed Aunt Gladys, because there was a little detail that I noticed in there that Alex's father refers to him as his mother's aunt, and then the mother refers to him as his mom's aunt. So it's
Mhm.
not even clear what the actual relation is in the family, but they're
And even like the whole like I haven't seen her in 15 years and like all this stuff and like adds a little bit of mystery too of like have they really seen her before? I don't think she was actually an aunt. I
I
think that
yeah,
like
I would agree. I think, you know, the magic of this movie, like she's clearly playing a witch that preys off the energy of young children to remain youthful. Um,
mm,
she is very clearly you know, she has some powers that she can force herself on to people, right? Like I don't need an explanation to it. It's a horror movie. It's
yeah.
fine. I loved
Well,
way
There's some points in this movie that like reminded me a lot of Stephen King's It, which we covered before, but like how like a town almost gets possessed in a way. And I definitely felt like his it almost felt like weird that no other parent other than Josh Brolin seemed to be like as dedicated to like find their kid in a way. And almost
yeah,
like
I think it's I think that's more of a you have like we can't have five characters trying to accomplish the same story, right? Like
well, exactly. But you think that like someone would be like a little more helpful or something like that. But and also like there's a brief moment of Gladys where Austin Abrams sees her in the woods.
oh yeah,
And
she
she
pops
just
up.
waves to him.
She makes little pops up like
Yeah, and when she waves to him, I was like, that's a Pennywise moment right there. That feels
she shows up in Justine's dream. There's a moment where she flashes in front of Josh Brolin, I think, in a dream sequence. Like she's popping up everywhere in this town. She has infected this town. She has haunted over it, and she has picked seemingly the nicest family possible
mhm,
to kind of latch her claws into as Aunt Gladys. But we're introduced to her um, when she meets with Benedict Wong because Justine is like, "Hey, you got to call Child Protective Services or something on this kid. Like he's acting really different,
mhm,
um, and like we're not getting any response from the parents, right? Like we got to see what's going on there. I don't think he's living in a safe environment." And if that kind of complaint is lodged, like a school has to investigate it, right?
mhm.
Where she comes in and just says, "Oh, the parents aren't well, so I'm here to do it." And then she shows up at their house with the hot dogs
Yeah.
and is like so hysterical, trying to play this meek thing. And it's like, I need some water, just really need some water, but I need it in a bowl. And if somebody asks you for a bowl of water that you do not know, don't don't give them a bowl of
Yeah,
water.
don't do it. I love that Benedict Wong the whole third time was like obviously very like worried and like suspicious, but like his husband was just like, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
It's fine, let her like yeah, he because he was like, no, do not let her in.
Yeah.
Don't let her in, but she uses the hair of or a personal effect of their victims, ties it to a branch, snaps it, and they are under her control now.
Yeah.
But the performance from Amy Madigan is just it's so creepy. I really like the makeup that they used. I think it was some makeup, some CG, but just like the strands of hair when she's not wearing her bright orange wig of her, crazy Aunt Gladys persona, right? She's just like this creepy old woman, and you really get the sense that like, from classic fantasy tropes of the kind of witch she is, that she uses the youth to remain alive, and that's how she
Well,
lives.
you kind of think that she's like hundreds of years old, like when she says that Alex's parents have what consumption or something like that, and that's like a very old term for like oh like they're sick or whatever they
Yeah.
have like a cough. So there's that aspect too, and I just want to say it is fantastic to see Amy Madigan in that role. We talked about her a lot on her
Field of
was
Dreams.
it Field of Dreams episode, which we covered a couple years ago, and she was fantastic in that movie. I remember being like, "Who is this actress?" She was amazing, and really like she's married to Ed Harris, but like she really had her heyday in the '80s. She was in like Streets of Fire, she was in Field of Dreams, Uncle Buck, and then she kind of went away for a little bit, and it feels like this is her real big like movie and for the
A
first time in a while.
bit of a renaissance for her.
Yeah, and I hope that this kicks off a full-on renaissance where she ends up being in, like more and more movies because like this was just fantastic and it was great seeing her pop up again. She was like properly menacing in this movie. Zach Cregger said when he was cast in this movie that like he met with Amy Madigan and he was like, it has to be her. If it's not her, then it's not gonna work. Because you can imagine if like it was like a lesser actress or the wrong person, it would have
Yeah.
been too
Uh,
cheesy. It would have been like
it
shitty.
you needed to make it work because of the way she interacts with Alex, right? And just like this such a stern discipline and manipulation and control that she's able to have over him, right? Where it's like she does it in this like supposedly sweet way, like, but like her tone and demeanor is trying to blend this sweet and stern, like, I will kill your parents if you tell anybody about what is going on here. You must do as I say. Now
Mm.
go and get a personal effect from every single child in your class. and bring them to me. Then he steals all the name tags. He sneaks out of gym. Um, my only nitty nitpick, I'm not a nitpicker, but my only nitpick is that Julia Garner catches him like zipping up the book bag and like goes down and being like, "What's wrong?" And like I understand she's just focused on the kid, but like
Yeah.
wouldn't you notice that all 20 name tags of all the kids are gone?
Yeah. Right. Immediately. Like, what's going on there?
What's in your bag, bud? Why did you take everybody's name tag? What's going on? Right? Like, if she cared about him, maybe we ask these kind of questions. Not like, I'm not trying to discipline you. I need to know why you need these name tags. My Aunt Gladys needs them. You probably don't think witch, but maybe you think pedophile. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you think something where you go, hey, we're going to talk. You go back to class, talk to the principal about it and be like, okay, we can't send this kid. We can't send this kid home.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, there's nothing that's setting off our alarm bells like whatsoever.
Yeah. So they are there. But Alex ultimately gets his revenge at the end, when he steals the hair of Gladys from her wig, breaks it, snaps it, and has the kids under his control now,
Hmm.
and targets targets her, and we just have that really fun chase sequence that goes on like longer than I thought it would.
It does feel like a Demented Boys Kids You Know sketch, and it has like
Yes,
the
it does.
bones of
Ferris
Ferris
Bueller.
Bueller
Yeah. Oh,
in
yeah.
there. It's just so funny. Where, like, she runs up one house, someone's like, "Oh my God!" and all of a sudden, like 20 kids come running
Just come
out
breaking
too.
everything down, and it just like
Yeah,
the extras too, right? Like just extras and just their little comments. Oh, what the hell? What is going on here?
yeah.
Ba, 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 ba.
I love it. Cuts to one guy in the lawnmower who just like looks at this. He's like, "What the
what?
fuck?"
Yeah, he just says it. It's such a funny line.
And then
And
it ends like a zombie movie where like they pretty much just like tear her apart limb by limb
yeah,
and just eat her the fuck out of her.
and Josh Brolin rescues his son. He's starting to talk again, which is good. And we have the narrator lead us out of the movie. Alex had to go live with a much nicer aunt because his parents had to be institutionalized. I'm guessing because they were under it. They didn't really explain it. It's fine. It's fine. It's exposition at the end of the movie. It's fine. But that is Weapons for the most part. Really fun movie, really great time. Love a good thriller. Love the horror elements in there with really excellent performances. Tommy, review out of five, at least your initial thought of it.
So first time watch, obviously, this movie was fantastic. I think Craig's 2 for 2 now with, his new directing career. We don't really count Miss March and neither does he. So, but overall, just greatly paced. I think the chapter structure really helps this movie out because I like that's not immediately revealed everything that happens, or like, you don't know why Marcus was attacking Julia Gardner at first, but you just immediately cut to it. But the performances across the board are great. This is a great mystery. This is just fantastic. Like the direction, even in terms of like the scare scenes, was really fun. I'm gonna go 4.5 out of 5. I think this is probably my like top 3 of the year so far. So
It's in my top two of the year for sure.
hmm.
I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 for everything I said before. Oh, we didn't do the quick sinners or weapons. Which did you prefer?
I think Sinners had a little more to say. And the
I
direction in that movie was a little stronger too. So
I would say I would argue much stronger. I thought this was a better narrative than I thought
mm,
this was a better screenplay than Sinners, but
mm,
I thought Sinners was so like stylistically bold, and it didn't have that scene like the burning down the barn scene that they
yeah,
have in Sinners, which just like took my breath away. Like
yeah.
it doesn't have this, but it's a really strong narrative. Probably easily my favorite screenplay of the year so far. Um, so 4 out of 5 for me, 4.5 out of 5 for Tommy. Definitely recommend it. Same for you, Tommy.
Yeah. So definitely recommend it. Definitely see it. So Zach Cregger, see what his next movie is. So can't wait.
Resident Evil. Hopefully it's not another Mila Jokovic. It doesn't follow in that footsteps because oh boy,
Yeah, yeah.
what a load of junk. Um, but thank you all so much for listening. Tommy, where can the people find us?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media at CNET That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And we're not really on Threads, but occasionally we are. And we're also on Blue Sky. That's podscenit.bluesky.social. And also leave us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And so, end of the month, wrap it up. We're gonna be covering Small Soldiers on the pod this month. One of my childhood favorites. We got our buddy Dallin who's never seen it before, so we're like, all right, here we go. So,
And then we're still gonna do Barbarian too.
we might say Barbarian for October, just to give a little space between the two Craigers.
We'll
But
figure out. As long as we have time, we'll find another movie too to cover
yeah,
in August. But yeah, great episode. Please let us know if you are enjoying these minis. We love to hear the feedback. And if you want us to keep putting them out, we will definitely do that. Keep running Twitter polls, maybe some Instagram polls, just get a collection of data to get the biggest release, especially with like all the movies that are coming out. It's going to be fun. Although
yeah.
I think in September, we're just going to do one battle after another. I'm sorry. That's an executive decision. I'm not
Well,
leaving,
yeah, because it's like
I'm not
what are
leaving
the
that one out to the people.
yeah, because like what's the ones in September 2025? There's fucking The Long Walk, which looks there's fucking the new Spinal Tap, which is probably gonna be shit, and then there's also the last Conjuring movie. And you haven't seen the first Conjuring movie, so I wouldn't even work. So
So, all right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time.